All right, today I want to talk to you a little bit about pruning Rose of Sharon. Now this is a Rose of Sharon hedge that was just put in this spring. When these things were put in, they were little tiny, barely rooted cuttings, so they actually grew pretty good, the ones that are in the sun. But then as you get down that way, there's more shade, so they didn't grow near as fast. But when you put in a plant like this, it's important that you prune it, especially the first couple of years. You prune it kind of hard, and winter is a good time to do that because the plant is completely dormant. You cut the top off, and then it's going to fill in from the bottom. So basically, you know, like this plant has got some pretty good bud breaks down low, and that's what you want. This one doesn't, so we're going to make sure that we get the top cut off of that so that this one breaks out down low, because, you know, having that stem come up and before the actual branches start is really not what you want. So we're gonna cut the tops off of these things, and basically this one, on this one, all I would do, I'd probably cut it right about there, and I'm gonna cut it right here. It's on a bamboo stake, so, and I'll cut it right there. Now what I did is I cut right above. Now that, I know that looks terrible, but what the plant is going to do, it's going to set some buds right here. It's going to set buds all down here, and it will fill out. Now, they've also lost a couple of plants, which isn't unusual. Right there's a dead plant. So what we're going to do is we're going to take what we cut off of here, and we're going to make some cuttings for them, and we're going to stick the cuttings in the ground. This is actually my brother-in-law's hedge. Now, I'm going to come in kind of close so you can see this. There are bud unions, also known as nodes, all along this stem, and each one of these is going to be a new branch next year. So I'm going to cut right here, right below that bud union, and then up here I'm going to cut below this bud union. So here, there's a bud union here, and I'm going to leave that space. Now that'll die back, but that will also help protect that bud as I stick this thing in the ground, because and then when I cut this one, I cut it right below. You want to cut below the bud union, but not into the bud union. And that's actually pretty good. So I got a couple of cuttings out of that. Let me grab the other one. This one is thinner. Now see, here's a bud union, and then there's dead space down here that's nothing going on. It's not really dead, but it's just blank space. That will die, and you don't want that. You don't want that piece of branch below ground, because we're going to stick these cuttings in the ground. So again, I'm going to cut right there below the bud union, and then I'm going to come up here and I'll cut below this bud union. So that's going to make a real nice cutting. I'm right below the bud union here, and I got a little handle on top to protect. I'm below the bud union there, so we'll just cut that right there like that, and there's another cutting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a number of these and stick them in the ground, because these things are actually relatively easy to root. I'm just going to take a screwdriver. I'll pick a spot right in here, and I'm going to make some holes in the ground wide enough to accept these cuttings. Now stick the cuttings in there probably about 1.5 inches, 2 inches deep, just like that. See that one I had to push, and that's why it's nice to have that little handle on top to protect it. And we'll stick another one, that one in just like that. Then all we're going to do is kind of tamp around these a little bit, and to get rid of air pockets, and that's all we're going to do. And these things will actually root. Now, probably not every one of them will root, because I didn't use any rooting compound. We're working with hardwood during the winter. So the secret to this is stick more than you need, because if you get a 70 to 75% success rate, and you stuck 100 cuttings, now you've got 75 new plants. So basically that's an easy way to propagate all kinds of things like Rose of Sharon, red twig dogwood, yellow twig dogwood, forsythia, weigelia, almost any woody flowering shrub. Some work easily, some don't work at all. So there's a little bit of an experimentation process there. I mean, this typically is not going to work with something like rhododendron and azalea, but it could. I've seen people root taxus this way, and taxus is just as tough as rhododendron and azalea. So you never know, and that's what's fun about gardening. You get to experiment and do all kinds of different things, and a lot of times you end up amazing yourself. So now I want to show you again. I'm going to prune, get my pruners back out. Now I'm going to prune this shrub. What I'm doing is I'm cutting the tops off because I want these things to fill out down low. And they will. They'll bush right out. I'm going to come back down this way. We'll do this one just like this. That piece I just cut off, I'm going to get at least 3 or 4 cuttings out of that. Same thing here. let me get this turned the right way. I'll take it down there like that. I'll cut this top off, and I'm going to pull this up. Whoop, pull the bamboo out of the ground. He's got Velcro on here. That's kind of handy. I'll stick that back in there just so he has it. Now, again, you don't want to leave something like that, so we're going to cut it here, we're going to cut it here. We'll just cut the tip off. I'm going to take that one. Again, now you're going to get multiple bud breaks because when you prune something like this, every place you make a cut, typically you get multiple bud breaks. That's why when plants are small, you want to cut the top off. They'll put on maybe 12, 15 inches of new growth. Cut about half of that off, and every time you cut them, you get more and more bud breaks. Then you get a really nice, tight, full plant down low. That's important. So I'm Mike McGroarty for freeplants.com and mikesbackyardnursery.com.